Hey there, hobby homesteaders. Welcome back to Peak's Peak. My name's Lucas, and we're sharing our hobbies here on 38 acres in eastern Kentucky. And today I was all excited, just getting ready to head up my brand new road and do some mulching. And I got a text from a good friend of mine, Evan, who was watching my newly released Light mulcher video. He said, hey, I think you may need to look at the adjustment on your slip clutch on your mulcher because it's killing your tractor awful easy. And there's a whole section on the slip clutch in the manual that came with this mulcher, but I guess like a lot of people do, I made some assumptions, just kind of thought the slip clutch would be ready to roll from the factory, and I didn't put any more thought into it. I'm pretty new to a lot of this stuff, so I'm kind of figuring it out as I go, and I always appreciate it when somebody is willing to speak up and say, hey, I don't want to see you tear up your equipment. Here's an idea. What I figured out is that I need to loosen up the bolts on the slip clutch, burn this clutch in, make sure that it's adjusted properly before I go up there and run it. Last thing I want to do is break something on my brand new tractor. So I'm going to show you guys the process for adjusting the slip clutch on this Light mulcher. Now, the quick and simple rundown from the manual is this. You loosen these bolts that have the springs on them to pull the clutches together. You loosen them up 2 revolutions all the way around. Once you've done that, then you go ahead and engage your PTO and you let the clutches slip a little bit. Then you tighten them back down 2 revolutions. So that's the process we're going to follow here. And I'll show you a couple things that I'm going to do to make sure I do this right. One is I've got a silver marker here. That way I can mark the PTO shaft and the clutch assembly and know that they slipped the way that they were supposed to when we engage the PTO. The other thing is I'm going to actually mark the bolts so that when I turn them, I know I've gotten 2 revolutions and I do it accurately. Now on this, we can actually mark that, and that way we'll know that slipped. And just make sure you can see those lines there that I've marked. And then on my bolt, I just put a little dot so that I can turn that twice around. Now I'm going to attempt to do this without removing this. So I've got a 17 mil wrench back in here and one right on the top here. And we'll loosen her up 2 revolutions. 1. 2. I'm going to make a mark right here just so that I know this is number 1. If I can get this dried off. This is the first one, so I know I've made it all the way around. And I disengage the PTO on the tractor so that I can turn this in order to rotate my PTO clutch and get to the bolts. Okay guys, next step is to actually run this thing. I'm gonna pick it up off the ground so we don't throw rocks in the garage. That should be pretty good. Got her idled down. Put my PTO back in gear. There we go. All right, let's take a look and see if it slipped. I've never done this before, so I'm not real sure what to expect. Yeah, okay. So it did work. Let me slide you back in here and I'll show you. You can see the 2 marks. Let's spin it a little more there. You can see the 2 marks and they no longer line up. Now, I just be honest with you, I'm not sure how much burning in they need or how much that actually slipped. So I'm gonna do that just a couple of more times just to be sure before I tighten it back down. And then the other thing is, I am going to go ahead and tighten it back to the factory specs of 2 turns tight and test it. And I'll take my wrenches with me, and if it's still stalling the tractor, then I can loosen it up. But it may be that the clutches were just stuck from the factory, and that's why it was killing the tractor. We're gonna just tighten it back up to 2 turns. It's really easy to lighten up the load on these springs, so if we need to, we can do that while we're up there working. Now you guys know how excited I get about working. So when Evan said, hey, you need to burn in your slip clutch and adjust it, well, I'm not gonna lie, I was a little bit disappointed because I was ready to just come out and work. But we've got really nice pieces of equipment here that the last thing I want to do is tear them up. We want to make sure we do this right. Let me get this thing turned where I have my indicator mark showing again. There it is. Let's start here. And we're back around. Sweet. And guys, it's just that simple. There's really nothing to it. It's just a matter of you've got to know what needs to be done, and you got to know how to do it. So I hope this helps some of you out that are just learning these things like me. A big thank you to Evan for pointing this out to me. Now, we'll head up the hill and get to work. So guys, thank you so much for watching our videos, and until next time, get outside and enjoy God's creation because it's beautiful out here. Y'all have a good day.